inspired by the book for history written by President Masoud Barzani, the Kurdish leader who took the historic decision to hold the 2017 Kurdistan independence referendum. The Kurds are a people with a distinct history, language, territory, and culture. They have lived on their own land since ancient times and have long valued peaceful coexistence and tolerance among peoples of different faiths and ethnicities. Over the past 5 centuries, the Kurdish people endured repeated attempts at cultural assimilation and outright efforts to annihilate their national identity. Centuries ago, Kurdish lands fell under the sovereignty of the 2 dominant empires of their era, the Persian Safavids and the Ottoman Turk, a period that left the region trapped in prolonged conflict. With the end of the First World War, Kurdish lands were divided and carved across 4 states. This partition created an exceptionally complex geopolitical reality. Regrettably, the rights of the Kurdish people were not recognized in any of the 4 countries where they found themselves divided. As a result, the Kurds faced near total denial of their national and political claims. Harsh state policies led to prolonged confrontations between Kurdish populations and the central governments ruling over them. While these regimes failed to extinguish the Kurdish will for self-rule, the Kurds themselves were also unable to overthrow those hostile systems. The outcome was recurring instability, accompanied by violence and bloodshed across the region. These destructive relations between central governments and Kurdish populations demonstrate that both sides must reassess their approaches. Enduring problems born of historical injustice demand democratic solutions. Over the last century, new realities have emerged in all 4 states, where Kurds constitute significant portions of the population. No single solution can address all 4 cases. Each part of Kurdistan requires a path that responds to its own conditions, grounded in dialogue and democratic principle. This book seeks to shed light on the suffering of the Kurdish people in one part of Kurdistan, Iraq, where they have endured immense coercion and agony throughout more than a century of struggle with the Iraqi state. Compared to other parts of Kurdistan, Iraqi Kurdistan experienced a more active and dynamic political movement. In response, repression from the central government in Baghdad was particularly severe when measured against neighboring states with Kurdish populations. Oppression against the Kurds in Iraq took especially brutal forms, including genocide and the forced displacement of large segments of the population. At the same time, there were moments when opportunities for negotiation and political settlement emerged between the 2 sides. It must also be acknowledged that many Iraqi Arab politicians and public figures genuinely supported Kurdish claims and recognized their legitimacy. For most of the last century, until the overthrow of Saddam Hussein in 2003, the modern Iraqi state attempted to assimilate and eliminate the Kurdish nation rather than recognize it as a foundational component of Iraq with a distinct national identity. Between the Gulf War of 1991 and the Iraq War of 2003, Kurds largely remained outside the Iraqi state structure. When the new Iraq was established in 2005, Kurdish hopes were renewed, hopes that their rights would finally be secured within a new democratic system. Those hopes were repeatedly frustrated. The Iraqi government failed to recognize the distinct national identities of both Kurds and Sunnis, and instead sought to marginalize them and suppress their legitimate grievances. After 2005, nearly 55 articles of the Iraqi constitution were violated, seriously undermining national unity. Decades of struggle for autonomy left the Kurdish people searching for an exit from perpetual uncertainty. The Iraqi government refused meaningful cooperation and declined to recognize Kurdistan as an autonomous region. Against this backdrop, a fundamental question emerged. What was expected of the Kurds? The central government showed little interest in partnership. As a result, the Kurdish people concluded that the time had come to propose a decisive solution, one that would end turmoil and uncertainty. On 25th of September 2017, the Kurds raised their voices and demanded independence without support from Baghdad or neighboring states. The response from Iraq and the region was hostile and suppressive, as efforts were made to silence the will of the Kurdish people. It became clear that an agreement had been reached, not to resolve Kurdish suffering, but to prolong it. This is the story of the Kurdish people, a journey from empire to oppression, from genocide to a rightful struggle for self-determination. It is a history marked by blood and injustice, yet sustained by the unbreakable will of a proud people. A people determined to shape their own destiny on their own land.